Aita, drama, secrets, confessions. Welcome to Tale Trove Reddit.
Back then, I was just the janitor mopping the floors of a sweaty gym. No one remembered my name. No one bothered to look at me for more than 3 seconds. But the secret is, these very hands that once held a mop would one day shake the entire arena. Can you believe it? In just one night, I went from being a nobody to the man whose name made even top fighters tremble. I traded blood and tears, all for the chance to wait for that one perfect moment. And when that moment came, the whole world fell silent. Would you dare miss this secret, when just looking away once could cost you the chance to witness the greatest shock of your life? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now, because the next chapter of this story will leave you breathless. Back then, I lived like a shadow. Every morning when I walked into the gym, the stench of sweat and the growls of fighters echoed like a haunting soundtrack. I was just the guy mopping the floors, quietly wiping up the blood splatters left behind after their brutal sparring sessions. Have you ever lived in a world where everyone is taller, stronger, and treats you like you're nothing but trash? They looked down on me, laughing at every clumsy step whenever I dropped my mop. Some even threw their sweat-soaked gloves in my face just to prove I was nothing. I swallowed it all. I swallowed every insult until they turned into a fire smoldering inside me. Would anyone believe that those very humiliations would turn me into someone entirely different? I started watching. Every punch, every kick, every single movement, I memorized them. I knew them so well I could describe a fighter's breathing just by hearing their footsteps hit the mat. Can you imagine a janitor secretly memorizing every move like a sleeping monster waiting to wake up? I had no coach. No fancy equipment. Just a mop as my staff and a dusty mirror to practice each motion over and over again. Do you think someone like me could make it? Or was I destined to be a nobody forever? There was one thing nobody in that gym knew. When the lights went out, when everyone left, I stayed. I locked the door, turned on the faint yellow bulb, and turned that blood-stained room into my own private world. I would stand in front of the mirror and mimic every punch I'd seen during the day. Every hook, every footwork, every nod of acknowledgement. Even the tiny mistakes those fighters made, I memorized them and turned them into lessons. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you'd steal every scrap of knowledge that fell to the floor just to survive? Slowly, my body changed. My hands grew calloused, my legs stained with blood, but my eyes were clearer than ever. I began to feel. I wasn't just the janitor anymore. I was the only one who knew all their secrets. Can you believe that while they boasted about their strength, I was quietly becoming the person who understood every fighter's weakness? Once, I swung at a heavy bag, and the sound exploded in my head like a blast. I remember standing there for minutes, wondering, if this punch landed on someone's face, would it change my fate? From that moment on, I knew, the ring would belong to me sooner or later. But how could a janitor cross that forbidden line? The answer will haunt you for the rest of your life. That day came faster than I ever imagined. One of the gym's star fighters got injured right before an important sparring session. The coach was yelling, the whole place in chaos. Someone had to step in, or the session would be cancelled. All the eyes swept across the room, and stopped on me. The janitor. The guy they thought was worth less than a punching bag. My heart was pounding like it wanted to rip through my chest. They tossed me a pair of gloves with smirks on their faces. Get in there, just to make up the numbers. Try not to pass out too fast. Have you ever been in a moment where the whole world expected you to fail? Where nobody wanted you to win, they only wanted you to be their punchline? I stepped into the ring. The smell of rubber, sweat, and raw pressure slammed into me. My legs shook, but in my mind, every single move I had memorized came back crystal clear. I wasn't the janitor anymore. I was the one who carried every secret they didn't know I knew. The bell rang, and I knew my life would never be the same again. Don't miss what happens next, because this is the moment the secret is revealed. Hit subscribe right now. If you miss it, you'll regret it. The bell had just rung, and I lunged forward like prey trembling before a fawn. My opponent sneered, circling me like a cat toying with a mouse. People laughed, and someone even shouted, "He's done in 10 seconds." But they didn't know. I had memorized every step of his footwork, every fake move. I waited for the exact moment, like a snake waiting for its prey to slip up. And then it came. He threw a smug left hook. The whole room expected me to drop instantly. But in a heartbeat, my body twisted, I channeled my weight, and, boom! My punch landed square on his face. The sound exploded in the silent gym like a blast. The entire room froze. No one could believe their eyes. A janitor had just knocked out a professional fighter with a single shot. I looked around and saw stunned, astonished, and even frightened faces. Have you ever witnessed a moment where the whole world suddenly flips upside down? When the weakest person in their eyes becomes the biggest threat? In that instant, I understood. This was only the beginning. What they had just seen was only the surface of the storm I was about to unleash. After that punch, nothing was the same. I stepped down from the ring into a suffocating silence. No one laughed, no one cursed. There were only confused stares, laced with fear. But rumors travel faster than any punch. By the next day, the entire gym was whispering about the janitor who dropped a pro fighter. Some said it was pure luck. Others swore I had some kind of secret. Do you know what it feels like to become the subject of gossip, treated like a bad joke? I became a thorn in everyone's side. The other fighters stared at me with contempt. Who does this guy think he is? Some went further, taunting me, tossing their gloves at me, daring me to prove myself. Day by day, the pressure grew heavier. But at the same time, the fire inside me burned hotter. Deep down, I knew it wasn't luck. It wasn't an accident. That was the moment I had spent years preparing for. But would the world ever give me another chance to prove it? Do you think a janitor can stand tall against a professional fighter twice? Or was it nothing more than a flash of lightning, bright once, then gone forever? After that fateful punch, nobody gave me a moment to breathe. They wanted to know if I was just a fluke, or if I could actually survive in the ring. I was forced into their official training sessions. From an invisible janitor, I suddenly became the guy everyone's eyes were glued to. Those days, my body felt like it was going to explode. They made me run until my legs gave out. They pushed me to lift until my hands split open, blood mixing with sweat. They didn't want me stronger, they wanted me broken, just to prove that the punch I'd thrown was a one-time accident. But I was different. Every drop of blood, every time I hit the floor, I treated as an oath. I would not fall. Not this time. Not ever. Have you ever felt like the whole world was against you, but that only made you stand up harder? I saw the contempt in their eyes and turned it into fuel. I remember every night after they all left, sneaking back in to train alone. The sound of my fists slamming into the heavy bag echoed through the dark room like a drum urging me forward. I knew, crystal clear, if I failed this time, I'd be the janitor forever. But if I stood my ground, I'd change the game. The fateful day arrived. I stepped into the ring under blinding lights, amid jeers and the crowd's taunts. They hadn't come to see me win. They'd come to watch the janitor get crushed. My opponent that night was a giant. Muscles like steel, eyes that seemed ready to swallow me whole. He sneered, pointed at me and yelled, "Tonight you'll go back to mopping where you belong." The crowd erupted in mocking laughter. The bell rang. In the first seconds, I took a barrage of blows like sledgehammers. My body wavered, ears ringing, the whole world spinning. People started shouting, "Go down. Finish him." But they didn't know how long I'd waited for this moment. I held myself together, watching his breathing, watching the repetition in his moves. And then, the moment came. A tiny mistake, but enough for me to strike back. Boom! My punch landed square on his jaw. The arena went silent. The giant staggered, then collapsed like a crumbling tower. Can you believe it? A guy who used to kneel and mop brought down a top fighter in front of thousands? That moment didn't just change me, it changed the whole room, the whole world's view of me. This is only the beginning, and you definitely don't want to miss what happens next. Hit subscribe right now, because if you skip the next part, you'll miss the biggest shock. The arena exploded after that punch, but the fight wasn't over. The referee's count thundered through the ring, 1, 2, 3. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the giant to rise. And he did. Eyes bloodshot, face twisted from the blow, but charging at me like a raging beast. Have you ever seen a wounded monster? It doesn't fear, it only becomes deadlier. He unleashed a storm of punches. I was cornered, sweat and blood mixing, my legs buckling beneath me. The crowd screamed, the coach roared in fury. Everyone was certain I was seconds from collapse. But in that haze, a voice echoed in my head, I'm not the janitor anymore. I am the one shaking this ring. I sprang forward. Poured every ounce of strength, every night of secret training, every insult I'd swallowed, into a flurry of strikes. Each blow landed like a hammer against the audience's hearts. Then the last punch, straight to his face. The giant crashed down, and this time, he didn't rise. The bell rang to end the fight. And suddenly, the same arena that had mocked me, erupted into a standing ovation. From a nobody, I walked out of that ring a victor. Have you ever witnessed an ending so powerful it forces the entire world to change how they see a person? That night, I lived that ending. That night I walked out of the ring with trembling legs, blood still on my lip, but my heart blazing. No one dared call me the janitor anymore. I had turned a mop into a weapon, turned their contempt into strength, and turned my anonymous name into a nightmare for those who had looked down on me. People asked me how it felt to beat the giant. I just smiled. Because I knew what I had just defeated was not just an opponent, but the past that had been weighing on my shoulders. Have you ever seen someone who was trampled rise up, then use their own punch to rewrite their fate? If not, then you just witnessed it. And remember this line, because it will follow you for the rest of your life. Yesterday I knelt and mopped the floors for them. But today, they have to bow before my punch.